All right, so POD number 1 is my guess is the one that people maybe are like, oh, it's Monday morning. Fraction equation, not my favorite. But I thought it'd be a good review because we haven't done any fraction equations in a while. So let's there we go. All right, so let's start with POD number 1. Who has an idea of how they would just get this problem started? You don't even have to do the whole thing. What would you do to get number 1 started?
Common denominator.
You could do common denominator. That'd be one way to do it. Does anybody remember? Yeah, so you could make the denominators all 12. You know what? Let's do that. Let's make all the denominators 12. And then I want to show you something cool that makes this problem even easier once you have all the common denominators 12. So if I was working with 1/4 and I wanted to have a common denominator of 12, what would that be? 1/4 is equal to how many 12ths?
3/12.
Thanks, 3/12. So I have 3/12x plus 2/3 is equal to how many 12ths? 2/3 is how many 12ths? Well, I have to say 3 times what gives me 12?
4.
4. So 2 times 4 gives me
8.
8. So I have plus 8/12. And that's going to be equal to, well, this is really 3/1 is equal to what over 12? 3/1 is what over 12?
36/12.
Yeah, 36/12. So what's nice about this is that once you have those common denominators in a fraction equation like this, then you can just use the numerators and solve. This problem really becomes 3x plus 8 equals 36, which is way better than having to, mess with all those denominators. So that's just one of these methods you can use when solving equations with fractions. Good morning, Poe.
Good morning.
All right. Okay, so from here, Jack, what would you do? 3x plus 8 equals 36. What would you do next? Jack?
I was on mute.
Oh. 3x plus 8 equals 36. What would you do?
I don't really remember.
Okay. Yeah, David, go for it.
So we would subtract 8.
Yeah, we would subtract 8 from both sides. So remember, Jack, we're trying to isolate this variable. So we'll get rid of the constant, the number without the variable first. All right. David, what's 36 minus 8?
28.
28. And then we'll divide both sides by 3. And we can just say 28/3. Does anybody have it as a mixed number? What is 28/3 as a mixed number? Oh, and what do you think? What's 28/3 as a mixed number?
Would it be like as a mixed number?
Yeah. How many times does 3 go into 28?
8 times,
Keep going.
9 times.
9 times. Yeah. 3 goes into 28 9 times. And I'd have how many left over?
1.
1. David chiming in there. 9 and 1/3. So you could say 28 thirds, or you could say 9 and 1/3. Either way is fine. All right. Number 2, what is 60% of 60? Now, we learned a couple ways you could do this problem. I kind of do, I think about this in my own head, one of those methods that I taught you, but I'd like to hear from you guys how you guys think about 60% of 60. What would you do? Or does someone have an answer for us already? We just shout out an answer and then we could talk about how to do it. 60% of 60. What would you do? Can somebody tell me what 10% of 60 is? Okay. 10% of 60. Robbie, what's 10% of 60?
Is it 6?
Yeah. 10% of 60 is equal to 6. So 60%. Paul, what do you think 60% of 60 would be?
I don't know, like, I don't know.
Well, let's try that this way. If 10% is 6, and you have 60, which is 6 10%. What could you do? What could you do with that 6? 10% is 6. 20% would be 6 plus 6 gives us 12. So do you have an idea of what 60% would be?
I don't know.
Not sure.
No.
Okay. Kellers, what do you
Would
think?
you add a 0? Like, wait a minute.
Well, you know what? Let's take a look at it this way. I'm gonna just do a little table here. 10% is 6. So what would 20% be if you have two 10%?
120?
12.
We know that half of 60, like 50% would be how much? If we were doing 50%, 50% would be 30. So we know it's more than 30, but less than 60.
120. Oh, wait, no. Because it has to be less.
Yep. So if 10% is 6, we're going to say 20% would be 12, right? We have 2 6s. 30%, this is 6 plus 6. 6 plus 6 plus 6. How much would 30% be? Luke, what do you think? What would 30% be?
8 would be 18.
18. Wherever that
Oh, and then 40% would be.
40% is 6 plus 6 plus 6.
So it's like 6,
24.
12, 18, 20, whatever.
24.
Yeah.
50%, we already knew was 30.
30
So 60%
would be
36.
36. There we go.
36. Oh, right.
So if 10% is 6 and we want 60%, we could multiply that by 6. 6 times 6 for the 60%. We want 10 I'm sorry, we want 6 of those 10% intervals. All right, have to do some review. Whew. All right, last one. Good morning, Jamarian. All right, and then so last one, 5 minus 4 plus 12. What would you do first?
Can I do it?
Sure.
You just go across.
Yeah.
5 minus 4, it'll be 1. And it'll be 13, the answer.
Thank you. I knew someone wanted to add first, but remember, when you're doing addition and subtraction, you go in order from left to right. Don't forget. All right. So that takes care of POD for today. All right, I want to talk about business. First item of business is that anyone who is interested in doing the extra credit, it is due tomorrow. A couple of you have turned it in. Thank you. It is on the 5th tab.
Samick.
Yes. Go ahead.
So isn't the math part of it 10? Like you get 10 points for that, and then actually like sending a video in is like 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't have to do both. You could just do the math part. You could just do the video part. But if you want the
Okay.
extra credit, you could get up to 15. So it's up to you.
Okay.
Make sure you read the directions that are on the project. Okay, it breaks down what you need to do. It's on the 5th tab of the project. So that's due tomorrow.
Islamic.
What's up?
How many ingredients do we have to use?
A minimum of 5. So you could make an omelet. You could make some cookies.
How do you make an omelet?
I could tell you after class, but you use some eggs, some milk, some cheese, and 2 vegetables they have laying around in your house. You can look it up and find a YouTube video to show you how to do it. But 5 ingredients. Bake your family a loaf of banana bread. I don't know, whatever you want to do. All right, so that is item number 1 of business. If you need a cooking lesson, I could give cooking lessons maybe tomorrow morning. If anyone wants to, we can make something together if you're interested. That'd be fun. All right, item number 2. Mr. Berduska emailed everybody this weekend, I think this came through. Maybe it came through Friday. Maybe it was Saturday. But there's if you haven't read this yet, look for your email from Mr. Berduska. Okay. People that did read it, what was probably the most important thing that was said in that email? People that did read the email.
School ends May 15th.
There's fact number 1. School ends May 15th.
Yes.
I thought it was May 25th.
Okay, so that's what gets tricky here. So May,
No exams.
no exams, no exams like we typically take them, like we took at Christmas time, right? Here's the thing though, when they say, I just want to make sure people are clear, because I don't know that this was crystal clear. Item number 1 is that May 15th is the last day of formal classes. Like teachers can't assign new work after that. Okay. So teachers have that next week of May to get some grades done. For students who are way behind and are not going to pass, that week from May 18th to May 28th, like it is our job as teachers and your job as students to work together to get caught up. So for some people have been like off the grid. Some people were sick. You know, there's all kinds of reasons why people don't have their stuff done. So if you are in that boat, okay, if you do not have your stuff done, which, you know, I'm looking at this list of people on here. This group has been pretty good, at least in my class, with keeping up. All right. That is what that time is for. A lot of teachers are going to use the week of May 18th to do like a last like Zoom meeting where they'll have like a little party or whatever they're going to do. Okay. On Thursday, May 28th is like the very end. There's nothing being taken after that. And after May 28th, if you did not do what it took, you will get an incomplete and you will have to do an online class this summer to make up your credit. Okay. I highly recommend, if you are in any sort of academic distress with a class, I would start working on it now so you don't have to push it till May 28th and figure out what you need to do. All right. For our class, we are going to do a unit, a mini unit. It's already a short unit, so we're not really going to miss out on that much. We're going to do a mini unit on inequalities this week and next week. And then the last week we will have, and this is what I think is going to happen in a lot of your classes. We'll have like a wrap up project the last week of class. So we'll do some reflection, think about what we learned this year, do some review, but we don't have a big formal test, but we will have a cumulative project of reflection on what we learned this year. All right. Last, or does anybody want to ask any, you can unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions about that email from Mr. Berdeska and just the last few weeks, what's going on?
Are we gonna have like any kind, like a sort of final in like math or like other classes?
I think some of your other classes you will have some sort of project or final, but it's not going to be like that intense sit for 90 minutes sort of a thing. But
yeah.
I think a lot of teachers are thinking about how can like we wrap this up in a way that's still meaningful, but not a semester exam. So for me, I'm working right now on developing something a little different than an exam, but more of like one of those percent problems and like explain to me how you do this type of problem. And just some more like explanation and reflection. So also so you can use it in future years. So when you have algebra next year and you're like, how did we do this? You can go back and look and see how you did that. So I would expect more of that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, if anyone's in Mr. Mecker's class and you haven't looked at his page lately, you guys have a project that's due tomorrow for him. Check out his page and look at that project. Okay, last thing, a few of you were eligible to do test corrections. Those are due Wednesday. Some of you, Miss Downs shared with me who made an appointment with her and who has not. So some of you who need to do test corrections, please reach out. Some of you did not need to do test corrections. Most of you, not most, some of you were fine. Some of you needed to do corrections. Okay, we ready to move on? Does anyone want to ask any questions about business before we dive into the math? Okay. All right, so we are going to do a mini unit on inequalities, and it builds off of our equation unit. So a couple of things that we're going to focus on is understanding what solutions to inequalities are. We're going to graph inequalities, and you're going to do some of that on Delta Math tonight. We're going to do some translation from Word to inequality. And we are also going to do some solving and some graphing. That's what we're going to do next week. We will have a quiz on this unit next Wednesday. So a week from Wednesday will be our last quiz type of thing. And then the week after that will be a project. So quiz next Wednesday. So as we dive into this, if you don't have a pencil and paper in front of you, you need to get one. And we're going to write a few things down right now. You guys can just make this table for yourself. I want you to have a good example in your notes because some people really get mixed up with how to write inequalities. So, this isn't like you can choose what you want this to mean. Like there's only one way to say these inequalities. So this first inequality symbol is the one next to the M key on your keyboard. Can somebody tell me how you say that symbol? Is that less than or greater than?
1.
Less than or greater than? The first one.
Greater than.
Try again.
Less than. I
You
knew
are
that.
you are correct. All right. So this first symbol is less than. So I can say 1 is less than 2. And so some people say, well, I could read it the other way and say 2 is greater than 1. I want you to get in the habit of reading these like you read a book from left to right. All right, so 1 is less than 2 is how that is read. It's true, 2 is greater than 1, but that's not what that statement's saying. All right. So David, what do you think the next one is then?
Greater than.
Oh yeah, thank you, David. Oop, greater than. So I can say -2 is greater than. -2 is greater than what? Who can fill in another number there for me? What?
-5.
-5, yeah, nice. That one's a tricky one sometimes. All right, someone other than David. What does this next symbol mean when there's a little line underneath it?
Less than or equal to.
Less than or equal to, thank you. Less than or equal to. And if I say x is less than or equal to 3, what are some options x could be? X could be what? If x is less than or equal to 3, what's one option?
3.
3. X could be 3. What else could it be? X could be 3 because it's less than or equal to. X could be 2. X could be
One.
-5. 1. Yeah. Good. All right, and then we got the next one is greater than. Greater than or I guess it's an A, huh? Greater than or equal to. In that case, x could be 4, x could be 5, x could be 4.5. And then our last one, we have not equal to. Does anybody know what the not equal to symbol looks like in math? When we're talking about inequality, this inequality unit. We're going to put an equal sign with a slash in it. 2 is not equal to 2.1. 1/2 is not equal to 2/5. What's up?
Wouldn't that mean like there's not an equation?
Yeah, but so you're gonna come across. It's a good question. You're gonna come across times in math where you are solving equations, and you might have something like 1/x and you're trying to graph this, well, if you have 1 over x, x cannot be equal to 0 because you can't divide by 0. So it's more of learning this notation for later on, where if you want to say x can be anything except 0, you would use x not equal to 0. So this situation, this not equal to, we're not going to use that a ton right now, but I at least wanted it to be out there for you for later. As you get more advanced in your mathematics, you'll know what that is. Good question. All right. So we are going to do a little exploration with this. Before we do the exploration, anybody need more time at the table? Before we do the exploration, I know I'll get caught up in the exploration, so I just wanted people to know that tonight your homework is a Delta Math activity on inequalities. It's a 3-parter with 2 are inequalities and 1 is just an equation review. So it's due tomorrow by 5 o'clock. Okay, so for this week, when I jump to the activity, I'll show you the calendar for this week. But for this week, today's class is today's work, and tomorrow you have up until 5 p.m. You could do it today. You don't have to do it tomorrow. You could do it today. But it's the inequalities. Oh, I think I changed that. I think I changed it to called Inequalities Part 1. So I'm trying to make things more streamlined. Inequalities Part 1 is what I think I called it on the Power School. All right. So with that, let me disconnect this thing, and we're going to dive into our activity. Our activity today is on Desmos. So we're going to pull up Desmos, and I need you guys to type that in your screen. And Jamarian, it looks like you're already on it, which is awesome. And Z's already on it. I don't know where Z is in class, but Z is apparently on the activity, so we'll take it. So you're going to do student.desmos.com and then type in that code.
Onward.
All right, so Xavier's in. Jamarian, are you back in?
Can you please say the code?
Yes, it's H5N4TC. We got Joe's in, Owen's in, Poe's in, David's in. Luke's in, Robbie's in, Jack's in. Okay, good. All right. So let me get my screen. All right, so for this this activity is just going to do some exploration with graphs of inequalities. All right. So you can sort of work through it on your own pace if you like, but I'm going to kind of talk as we go through. So on this first slide, you'll see that there's a blue dot, and it just asks you to drag the blue dot to somewhere that's less than 3. So you can pick anywhere you want less than 3. And when you're done, you just move on to the next screen. Yeah. All right, and then you're going to drag it to a second spot. And when you're done there, you're going to move on to the next screen. So you're just taking that green dot, or it's blue dot, and move it just less than 3. And then you'll do it one more time. Oop, I didn't do one of my dots. So for those of you on this prediction slide, so most of you are at the point where you can see your other classmates' responses. Okay, we've got all of these blue dots. And if we took all of your blue dots and put them all on one, would we have a bunch of dots or would we have a solid line? What do people think? Just a bunch of dots, or would it eventually get filled in? So that's what I want you to think about. So if you're not on that prediction slide, that slide number 4, on slide 3, make sure you've moved all your dots. There we go. Now we're looking good. All right, so I've got almost everybody now. Everyone is now caught up to the reveal number 1. So I'm just going to pause for a second. And I'm going to pause you. And I just want to talk for a second about what's going on here. So when you when we talk about these types of graphs for inequalities, let me just get back to my screen here. I just want to take a look at what that number line would actually look like. So if we were talking about all the points before 3, okay, so Owen picked one here, Luke picked one here, Poe picked one here, David picked one here, and so on, and I filled in all of these points. what would eventually happen if I kept filling in points, filling in points, filling in points? What would form behind 3? Does anybody have a concept of what would fill in behind 3? If I filled in all these points behind, okay, I would end up with this solid line. Because not only does 2 and 1 fit or 2 and 1 less than 3, but 2.2 and 1.2 and 1.21. So eventually we get these all filled in all the way up to 3, but 3 is not included. Does anybody from a past math class know what it looks like? How you indicate that 3 is not included on a number line when you're doing these number line graphs? If 3 is not included, what do you do? It's either an open circle on 3 or a closed circle on 3. Does anybody know which one it is? If 3 is not included? Open circle. So I would have an open circle on 3 and then everything behind it. And as you go through this next part of the exploration, it's going to talk a little bit about that. But please know that open circle means 3 is not included. It is just x is less than 3 would be open circle. All right, so I am going to unpause, and I want you guys to keep working. I definitely want you to get to that. Eventually, you're going to get to a card sort on slide 11. So I want everyone to work towards slide 11. And let's see what people come up with as you work through. Get your PE set up for you so you can watch Missy's video. Okay. Oh, it's music day. Harry, you can do music maybe in the kitchen? Yeah. Here's. I thought it was PE day, but it's music day. All right, so people are working along, and your goal is to get to slide 11. All right, so it's going to be the same style on the next cards. You're going to go greater than -1. So we start to see people's points are greater than -1. Okay. I like people's responses that say I was right. Okay. How would you finish those directions? So the question is, drag each point to a place on the number line indicating that the number is, how would you finish that so it produces a graph similar? Okay. You would say greater than 4. Oh, and this one, let's see what this overlay, what they gave you here. This one, well, on challenge 4, would challenge 4 be greater than 4, Joe, on challenge 4?
No, it'd be less than, my bad.
Less than, and then on challenge number 4, I think we're not looking at 4, we're looking at what?
-1.
I think less than -1.
-2.
-2, yeah. So we're looking at all those things behind -2. So I want you guys to check out, if you're, some of you are there, on slide 11, you're actually going to sort some graphs out. So you're going to look at some number lines. So I've got mine on the screen. And you're going to have to say to yourself, say the expression out loud, n is greater than -2, and then you're going to look for those points that are greater than -2, and you're just going to drop the card so they're together. And then you're going to find it in words, a number greater than -2. So I'm going to drop that to form the 3 cards. So you're sorting the cards into groups of 3, and 2 are not going to get used. All right, so if you're not on number 11, I at least want you to check out 11 before we end class today. So you're looking at an expression with the inequality symbol, you're looking at words, and you're looking at a graph. And I want you to match up those expressions, the words, and the graph. Now, I recognize it's 10:15, and I know a lot of you move on to your 10:30 class. I want you to finish this Desmos activity here today. It looks like a lot of you are on the card sort. Like Joe, it looks like you got all of your matches look good.
Yep.
Okay, some of you, we need to get Z back on board here, but you need to get on definitely card sort 11, and then again you'll do it with 15 after you work through slides 12, 13, 14. Then you'll try card 15. And ultimately, when you get to that card sort on 15, all the dots are going to be filled in for you. All right, so you can really see that line being formed. And you'll see the open circle for not equal to versus the closed circle for when it is equal to. So if I look at something like this first one here, x is less than or equal to -2, I'm looking, I need a closed circle less than -2. All right, so you will match up your cards as you go through. All right, so your job, finish, and for sure you got to finish that card sort on 11 and card sort on 15. And then those are my two big ones I want to get done. Oh, we were supposed to do our class picture today. We'll have to do it on Wednesday. All right. Would anybody like to ask any questions about the card sorts, either on 11 or on 15? Okay. Okay, in that case, it is 10:15, so I will send you on your way. We will be back in class on Wednesday. We will do some other work with inequalities on Wednesday. Your Delta math assignment tonight is a lot about, it's very similar to this, thinking about greater than or less than in words, and giving some examples. So tonight, I think the first part is just comparing two numbers, and then the second part, I think, is a graph and a number. So by the end of today, you should have 11 and 15 done on the card sort. If anybody wants to stay on and ask any questions, I'm going to stay on until 10:30. I've got some students joining me at 10:30 to do some tutoring. So if anyone wants to stay on, you're welcome to. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Miss Simic, I have a question.
Sure.
So our homework tonight is the Desmos and the Delta math.
Yep, finish the Desmos and then do the Delta math. Yep. My primary
Okay.
concern on this, Robbie, the ones I'm going to be looking for are 11 and 15 on the Desmos, the two card sorts.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Miss Simic.
Bye, Robbie. Have a good day.
You too.
Luke, you okay over there? Do you have a question?
I don't even have my Zoom tab open.
Do you have the Desmos tab open
Yeah,
with the card sort?
yeah.
That's fine. As long as you have that open. Do you want to take a look at the card sort on slide 11?
Sure.
All right. So why don't you go to slide 11?
Okay.
Jamarian, your cards look good. I see yours is done. And David, okay, David, you're still working on yours on 11?
No, I finished my 11 one.
I
Do
would
the
go-
whole. Wait, do we do the whole thing?
Yeah, do the whole thing.
Okay.
All right. So, Luke, which card? If you could just read me one of the expressions in words that you're looking at.
A number less than 4.
A number less than 4. All right. All right. So if I start with a number less than 4 in words, I'm going to look for that in symbols. So you're going to look for the less than and less than 4. And remember, 2 cards are going to be left over. So let's make sure you didn't, hopefully you didn't pick one of those, but you didn't. So I see one that has a number less than 4. So do you see it in symbols, Luke? Do you see N? Okay. All right. So you want to drag that on top until they kind of click together, and then it says 2 cards, and then those 2 cards are kind of locked in together.
Yeah.
All right. And then do you see a number line that has numbers less than 4?
Mhm.
Okay. So just take that over there and drag that on top of there. And now you have that 3 card set. And then you can move on to your next set. So you're looking for in words and in symbols. All right. So which one are you working on next? I would maybe, ooh, sorry, I'm getting feedback. And which one do you want to pick next?
Wait, are we still on slide 11?
Yeah, do you have all of your sets of 3 with 2
think
cards left over?
Yeah, there's 2 cards left over.
3 cards left over? There
Think
should
so.
only be 2 cards left over if you match them up with sets of 3.
There's 3 sets of 2 cards, and then there's 2 sets of 3 cards.
They should all be sets of 3.
Okay.
Okay, so the ones that you have 2 cards, we got to find what's missing. So tell me one of your 2 card sets.
4 is greater than n, and then or less than. My bad, less than. And then there's a number line that goes up to 4 from 0.
Okay, so you have the symbol n is less than 4.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you need to look for the words where it says a number less than 4 and drag the words on top of that.
All right. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Okay. So it looks like, do you have n is greater than -2 matched with the words? Match with the words a number greater than -2?
Yeah.
Okay, now from my what I'm seeing, it looks like you have that matched with the graph that's greater than 0. You need to find the graph that has starts at -2 and goes up. So you want to move that graph that has greater than 0 and find the graph that's greater than -2. Luke, do you see the graph where the numbers start at -2 and then get bigger?
Yeah.
It looks like right now you've got, maybe it's already moved. I might have to reload, but before you had it matched with less than 4.
Yeah. Now I have it with the 2.
Oh yeah, that looks good now. Okay. All right. And then let me see. So in the part where you have words, a number less than 4,
Mm-hmm.
and then I see your graph is less than 4, but your symbol, do you see how the symbol opens up towards the end?
Mm-hmm.
That's the greater than symbol.
Yeah.
So we need to switch that with the less than symbol. And I'm going to also reload so I'm making sure that I'm seeing the right thing. Okay, yeah, you got it now. A number less than 4, that looks good. A number less than 3. Okay, so the one that says a number greater than 0. You see the words, a number is greater than 0. And you've got 2 different symbols matched with it. So you got to pick the one that's the greater than symbol. So which one is the greater than symbol?
To the one that's open to the left or the right.
Let's see what we got there. Do you see my Zoom screen now, or are you still just on the Desmos screen?
I'm on the Desmos screen.
Okay. Let me reload yours because it looks like your 0 one is still mixed up. So a number greater than 0, that looks good, matched with your graph. But that symbol that you have there
Oh yeah.
is the less than symbol. So you need to switch that with the greater than symbol.